So hello, let's start. I mean, people will surely join us in the next few minutes. We already have lots of people watching us on YouTube. So it's with a great pleasure that I will resume these Atlantic and Arctic Lighthouse weekly hour. This time with the coordinator, not from the Atlantic and Arctic Lighthouse or any project related to the Atlantic and Arctic Lighthouse, but with EcoDaLLi. EcoDaLLi is coordinating the Danube Lighthouse. And why is so important for the Atlantic and Arctic Lighthouse? Because we care for the same objective, restoring nature. This is very important. So this connection is very important for us. For this reason, I introduce Nadja. And Nadja, please introduce yourself and say something about you and the other people that will participate as well from your side, and show the people what have you been doing lately.
Hey, great. Thank you, Jose, for this nice introduction and for inviting us to present EcoDaLLi here at this first weekly hour after the summer break. I'm really looking forward to it. My name is Nadja. I'm from Germany. I work here as a project manager for the Steinbeiß-Europa-Zentrum. And we are coordinating EcoDaLLi, the coordination and support action of the Danube Lighthouse, which I want to talk to you a little bit about. I am joined today by two of our project partners, Milan from the Faculty of Sciences from Novi Sad and Julian from the Danube Delta National Institute for Research and Development. I don't know, do you guys want to introduce yourself real quickly before I start with the presentation? Maybe Milan, you first.
I should start with NBS, no? Or
just say something about yourself. Just introduce yourself.
Oh, myself. So I'm retired, 72, but still working. We have some experience in international projects, and we received also another one recently, and started with EcoDaLLi with the first task related to the nature-based solution. We have heard some words about this restoration of nature, but I would like to remind you that this, what is the nature? Nature is an important word generated from physis or physis from Greece. And if you ask very clever old Greece, but they disappeared, all Greeks, because they were old, because of that. And if you ask philosophers in Greece, is it something about Zeus? Yes, it is something. It's a nature, physics. So we look at this term a little bit different, and sometimes we are confused. We started our deliverable with some words of Seneca and Cicero. Follow the nature and you will be on a good way, and etc., etc. And after that, we made a study of this term and the structure of nature-based solutions. Of course, we focused European Union approach. Another organization, International Union for Restoration of Nature from Switzerland, is also very active, and I cannot say worse than European approach, but a little bit different. And we focused we demonstrate also the statement and the structure of nature-based solution of this institution, but actually in our material is given something different, mostly oriented to the previous publications from European Union. And also we...
excuse me, Milan, sorry for interrupting you, I'm very sorry. But the idea is for you just to introduce very briefly you.
Okay, I finished my introduction.
And you learn. No. Please hold your.
My background is mechanical engineering, but I am from the Department for Environmental Engineering now.
Okay, good. Now, Yulen, if you could introduce yourself, and then we start with a presentation from Nadja, and then we will come back to nitrogen solution. But thank you for your introduction, and hold your thoughts. We will be back with you soon. Okay, so Yulen, yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Nadja. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to be today with you. I am scientific director of Danube Delta National Institute in Tulcea, Danube Delta. And my background is the geomatic and spatial planning. I am working from 1985 in this institute for ecological restoration of degraded areas, in general wetlands. Our institute is dedicated for ecology, healthy of environment, and management of wetlands. It's a very important issue for us, the wetlands, for capacity of stocking carbon, and for this reason we are very deep involved in ecological restoration, especially for Danube floodplain and Danube Delta. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Julian. So you see, I've brought a lot of expertise with me today, so we can answer all of your questions when I'm done with my presentation of the project. I'll just quickly share my screen, and then I'll jump right into the presentation. Okay, so I hope you can all see my screen. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me today when I'm telling you about EcoDaLLi, or ecosystem-based governance with Danube Lighthouse Living Lab for Sustainable Innovation Processes. Before I jump into the specifics of EcoDaLLi, I just want to give a very short recap of the mission Ocean and Waters. I'm sure most of you have already heard this, but please just bear with me for a second in case anyone in the audience is not familiar with the mission Ocean. So the mission Ocean is an initiative of the European Union that has the target of protecting and restoring the health of our oceans and waters through research and innovation and citizen engagement by 2030. The European Commission, in order to achieve this goal, has established the mission charter and is calling on member states, regions, and stakeholders to endorse this charter. More importantly, for today's presentation, they have decided to fund 4 area-based lighthouses: the Atlantic and Arctic, the Mediterranean, the Baltic and North Sea, and the Danube and Black Sea lighthouses. And with these 4 lighthouses, they want to achieve 3 different objectives: protect and restore marine and freshwater ecosystems and biodiversity, preventing and eliminating pollution of the ocean, seas, and waters, and making the blue economy carbon neutral and circular. This is a very simplified overview of the mission Ocean, just to give you an impression of where we are at with the EcoDaLLi project. So at the top of the mission Ocean, we are having, of course, the mission Ocean Secretariat and the European Commission with CENEA. Below this, we have Prep4Blue, who have presented in the last presentation before the summer break, and who are basically developing the tools necessary for successful achievement of the mission goals by, for example, providing citizen engagement tools to the lighthouses. There is also the mission implementation platform that will be collecting information from all of the projects within the Mission Ocean and monitoring the achievement of the goals of the Mission Ocean. And then we have the 4 lighthouses, each of which is structured with one coordination and support action and then associated innovation actions. And EcoDaLLi is the coordination and support action of the Danube Lighthouse, which is currently supporting 4 associated innovation actions. Now, as Jose has already told us, we are sharing the first objective of the Mission Ocean with the Atlantic and Arctic Lighthouse, which is protecting and restoring marine and freshwater ecosystems and biodiversity in line with the EU biodiversity strategy. For the Danube Lighthouse specifically, the mission has set 2 additional targets. The first one is restoring at least 25,000 kilometers of free-flowing European rivers, and the second is contributing to nature restoration targets. The Danube Lighthouse is the only freshwater basin in the mission. And before I start talking in detail about what we do in EcoDaLLi, I want to give you a quick insight into the Danube River Basin to make you understand the issues and challenges we are dealing with in this lighthouse. So this is a map of the Danube River Basin. It is a map from 2021 from the ICPDR Danube River Basin Management Plan. You will see a lot of data in my presentation from this plan because this is a huge resource on data about the Danube River Basin. As you can see, this is a very large basin. It is actually the second largest river basin in Europe with a size of more than 800,000 square kilometers. And it's actually the most international river basin in the world. So we have 14 countries which are part of the Lighthouse area: Germany, the Czech Republic, Austria, Slovenia, Slovakia, Croatia, Hungary, the Ukraine, Romania, Serbia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Bulgaria, and the Republic of Moldova. But actually also the territories of 5 additional countries are touched by the Danube River Basin. So this basin actually touches the territories of 19 countries and is home to approximately 80 million people. The Danube itself is, of course, not the only water basin within the Danube River Basin. We also have a lot of tributaries and lakes and transitional water bodies that we have to take into account when we talk about restoring waters in the Danube River Basin. The Danube itself is also the most international river in the world. It flows through 9 countries and is the second longest river in Europe with a length of 2,850 kilometers. What's also very interesting about the Danube River Basin is the very wide variety of landscapes that we have within this area. Everything from high mountains to forested hills, plateaus, plains, lowlands, and the Danube Delta, which is actually one of the greatest marshlands that we have in Europe, with a size of approximately 6,500 square kilometers. And these differing habitats are home to a very rich and unique biological diversity of species. We have approximately 2,000 plant and 5,000 animal species in the Danube Basin, fish, mammals, rare birds, insects, and many of these species are endangered or nearly extinct. The Danube River Basin the Danube itself is not only important for animals and plants, it's also, of course, important for the people living along its banks because it provides a great number of resources, such as fresh water, hydrological power, and food. And it also acts as a major infrastructure for trade, transportation, and cultural exchange. And with all of these different countries that are part of the Danube River Basin, the cultures and the socioeconomic conditions that we find in the basin are as diverse as the ecological habitats it hosts. The first target of the Danube Lighthouse, as I already told you, is the restoration of at least 25,000 kilometers of free-flowing European rivers. Now, what are we talking about if we talk about a free-flowing river? First of all, this is a river that has a connectivity, both longitudinal, lateral, vertical, and temporal. Most importantly, we are talking here about longitudinal and lateral connectivity, which means that there is connectivity between the source and the end of a river, so the water can flow freely without barriers. Because barrier, they alter a river's natural flow, they lead to shifts in sediments, and they limit fish and other species' ability to migrate, and thereby they lead to habitats being fragmented, which compromises the environment of aquatic species and the ecosystem as a whole. Lateral connectivity, on the other hand, means that there is free connectivity of the river to the floodplains and riparian areas around it. Now, this map shows you where we are currently at with interruptions of river continuity at the example of fish migration. You see that there are a wide variety of interruptions in the river, such as flood protection measures, hydropower dams, and water supply measures. And out of a total of 965 barriers that you see on this map, actually 624 still remained impossible to fish in 2021, which is 65%. Interestingly, when we look at the map here, we can see that actually there are more of these not possible barriers, which are the pink ones here, in the upper and the middle Danube than compared to the lower Danube and the Danube Delta. In addition to barriers, also changes in the river morphology lead to a river not being considered as a free-flowing river, because morphological alterations, such as, for example, widening a river for accommodation of more water so that larger ships can pass, have a strong influence on the development of a river in terms of sediment movement and erosion. And therefore, a river that has been heavily altered is not considered as a free-flowing river. In this map here, we see the distribution of waters from near natural, which would be the green areas, to severely altered, which would be the red areas. And again, here we see that only 17% of the river are near natural to slightly altered, while 23% are actually extensively to severely altered. The main changes we see here are actually morphological alterations such as widening, continuity interruptions such as dams, also water abstractions and disconnected floodplains. Again, here we see this distribution that we see more of these heavily altered areas in the upper and middle Danube than we see them in the lower Danube and in the Danube Delta. The second target that we have in the Danube Lighthouse is the contribution to nature restoration targets. The first thing that comes to mind when we think about nature restoration is, of course, protected areas. So there is a question of how many protected areas do we have in the Danube River Basin, and can we increase the area that is covered by them? So this is a map of the protected areas that we had in the Danube River Basin in 2021. So actually a large number. We have 1,737 protected areas on this map here, 60% of which are protected by the EU Habitat Directive and 20% protected by the EU Bird Directive. So this already looks good, but still we need to find ways to protect more areas and also to keep the protected areas that we are already having. When thinking about contributing to nature restoration targets, of course, not only protected areas are important, but also we have to look at the ecological conditions of all the habitats across the basin. And again, I have brought you some data here from the Danube River Basin Management Plan of the ICPDR. And in the left figure here, you see the waters of the Danube classified by the risk of failure to achieve a good ecological status by 2027. Not achieving a good ecological status by 2027 here means that they will not be reaching the Water Framework Directive environmental objectives. And we see that unfortunately, approximately half of the waters in the Danube River Basin are at risk of not achieving these objectives. In the right figure here, you see which pressures are actually causing this problem of risk of failing to achieve a good ecological status. And you see that, for example, here we have 1/3 of the risk is actually accounted for by hydromorphological alterations, such as dams. But also we have a huge problem with pollution, both organic nutrient pollution and pollution by hazardous substances in the basin. So just to sum up a few informations about the Danube River Basin that I just want you to take home is that the Danube River Basin is home to a really unique mixture of ecosystem and species that are well worth protecting, but it also serves as a major waterway and resource for all the communities living along its banks. And this unfortunately causes a lot of pressures on the river, such as pollution and hydromorphological alterations, but also pressures that I haven't talked about yet, which is like overfishing, over-tourism, and climate change. And since we've learned that the Danube River Basin is the most international river basin in the world, international cooperation is absolutely key to protecting and restoring the river. And to actually do this, to achieve the protection and restoration of the Danube River Basin ecosystem and biodiversity, we have the Danube Lighthouse with EcoDaLLi as the coordination and support action and the 4 innovation actions. Now, soon I will be actually getting to talk about EcoDaLLi, but just I want to first briefly introduce you to the 4 innovation actions that we have in the Danube Lighthouse. If you are interested in their work and want to know more about it, please check out their websites or social media. And who knows, maybe some of them might also be persuaded to present their work in one of the upcoming weekly hours. So now just a very quick preview. One of our innovation actions is Danube for All. They are working towards the restoration of the Danube River Basin waters for ecosystems and people from mountains to coast. They are working on 3 demonstration sites currently, and they want to publish the Danube Basin Restoration Action Plan. I've brought you here a picture from their website where they explain the objectives they are working on, and this is the link to the website, so feel free to check it out if you are interested in learning more about the Danube for All project. We also have DALIA, the Danube Region Water Lighthouse Action, which is working at 9 demonstration sites across along the Danube River, and is working towards establishing the DALIA tool, which is supposed to be an integrated tool for better decision-making and improved restoration of fresh and transitional water ecosystems in the Danube River Basin. Again, here, this is the link to their website. Then third, we have David Rest, one of the newer innovation actions. They are working towards Danube wetlands and floodplains restoration through systemic, community-engaged and sustainable innovation actions. They have 3 demonstration sites in their project, and they want to prepare and implement science, citizens, and nature-based solutions for an effective, sustainable, engaging, lucrative protection, restoration and management of wetlands, floodplains, and coastal wetlands in the Danube River Basin. As far as I checked when I looked 2 days ago, they do not yet have a website, but they do have social media. So if you are interested in learning more about David Rest, just follow them on LinkedIn. And last but not least, we have Restore for Life, the 4th innovation action, which actually had their kickoff just last week. And they are working on the restoration of wetland complexes as life-supporting systems in the Danube basins. They will work on 4 demonstration sites towards the establishment of the Restore for Life Wetland Reconstruction Accelerator. Okay, and having finished with this quick overview of the innovation actions in the Danube Lighthouse, I now want to explain to you what actually our role as the coordination and support action of the Danube Lighthouse is. So what we want to do is to act as a hub for mobilizing and engaging a wide community of relevant stakeholders across the entire basin, and to help them in setting up initiatives in line with the targets of the Lighthouse. We also want to ensure an effective governance structure and to provide a basin-scale innovation ecosystem that is attractive to investors and businesses. We also want to provide a broad portfolio of services and business models to support and guarantee a sustainable socioeconomic development of the basin. And of course, we will work hand in hand with the Mission Secretariat, with SENEA, and with the other lighthouses on aligning priorities and mobilizing the uptake of the Charter and achieving the Mission Ocean goals. Okay, so this is a very quick outline of the EcoDaLLi project. So as I already told you in the beginning, we are working on ecosystem-based governance with Danube Lighthouse Living Labs for sustainable innovation processes. The project started in January of this year. We have 17 partners and 1 associated partner from 11 countries, and we are working across the entire basin. For the purpose of our project, we have structured the basin in 4 geographical areas that I will be mentioning a lot, which is why I wanted to show you them here. And we have the upper basin, the middle basin, the lower basin, and the Danube Delta. This is our consortium. All of its members, 17 partners and 1 associated partner. We do have a few partners outside the basin from Greece, France, Georgia, and the UK. But we, of course, also have a lot of partners that are located within the Danube River Basin from Germany, Austria, Hungary, Croatia, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Romania. Our partners are distributed along the quadruple helix. We have NGOs, we have public administration organizations, we have SMEs, a lot of research organizations, and with Steinbeis-Europa-Zentrum, 1 business support organization as the coordinator of the whole project. The main objective of EcoDaLLi is to centralize Danube governance structures in terms of innovative solutions for improved ecological restoration, protection, and preservation of the Danube Basin and its delta by fostering a stronger innovation ecosystem within a well-connected living system. Now, I know this sentence is a handful and it sounds very technical, but I will explain it in more detail on the following slides, what exactly this means and how we want to achieve this. And I hope that at the end of my presentation, you will all understand what we want to say with this sentence and how we want to achieve the different points that are highlighted here within this objective. This is the EcoDaLLi work plan. So as you can see, the project has 8 work packages. I'm not going to go into detail on work package 1 and 8. But I do want to give you some insight into what we do in the other 6 work packages. And following the consecutive order, I will be starting with work package 2. Now, work package 2 focuses on ecosystem connectivity and how it can be achieved using nature-based solutions. We have already heard about ecosystem connectivity today, but the question here remains, what are nature-based solutions? Now, Milan will be able to tell you a lot more about this because he is our expert on nature-based solutions within the projects. But I will just give you a quick definition according to the European Commission, which we are also using in EcoDaLLi. So this definition is that nature-based solutions are inspired and supported by nature. They are cost-effective and simultaneously provide environmental, social, and economic benefits. They help build resilience, and they bring more and more diverse nature and natural features and processes into cities, landscapes, and seascapes through locally adapted, resource-efficient interventions. And nature-based solutions must benefit biodiversity and support the delivery of a range of ecosystem services. Now, this sounds maybe a little bit complicated, but what we were doing in work package 2 so far is actually developing a methodology that can be used to assess and validate existing and potential nature-based solutions, and that can also be used in the development process for nature-based solutions. What we are currently doing is now collecting existing examples of nature-based solutions along the basin, and we want to then apply our methodology and develop a catalog of best practice examples. And based on these best practice examples, we will then develop policy recommendations for the application of nature-based solutions and distribute these policy recommendations across the basin. Crucial for the success of nature-based solutions is the early involvement and acceptance of stakeholders. And we will therefore discuss and validate and improve these policy recommendations with stakeholders in 4 workshops across the basin. In work package 3, we are focusing more on innovative practices in spatial policies. Now, what does this mean? An example for it would be city-river interactions. So the river is a space that will be used by different groups for different interests, such as a recreational space, as a space for transport. And spatial policies are about finding ways in which these different interests can exist within one space. What we are doing here is we started out by collecting innovative spatial policies across the basin, not only on local level, but also cross-border and transnational spatial policies. And we will be compiling a best practice catalog, just as we are doing for nature-based solutions. In work package 3, we are also heavily engaging with stakeholders, because we not only need them to find and collect these best practice examples, since they are the ones actually living and working these spatial policies, but we also are having workshops with them to learn from them about gaps and needs in policies and solutions actually for the protection and restoration of the Danube, and to see where are the gaps and needs in these spatial policies and city-river interactions. The main output of work package 3 is then going to be a shared vision on spatial policies for the protection and restoration of freshwater ecosystems in the Danube River basin. The information collected in these 2 work packages that I have just presented to you will then feed into the work package, which basically builds the core of the EcoDaLLi projects, and that is work package 4, Danube River Basin Lighthouse Governance and Networking, the Living Lab system. So if you can still remember the main objective of EcoDaLLi I was mentioning in the beginning, it mentioned living labs, and it mentioned centralizing Danube governance structures in terms of innovative solutions for improved ecological restoration, protection, and preservation of the Danube basin and its delta. And I now want to explain to you how we plan to do this within the Danube Living Lab system. So first, we are again going to start out by collecting information. This time on existing governance project programs and networks that are linked to the mission objectives and that we want to interact with and centralize within our system. Then we take the data that was generated in work package 2 and 3 and use it to identify gaps and barriers for effective governance that would allow nature-based solutions and effective spatial policies at regional and basin level. And finally, we want to explore the potential of living labs as a tool to strengthen the existing forms of governance in the Danube region. You might now be asking yourself, what are living labs? So the living labs as a concept have actually first appeared in the early 2000s. And by then they were a tool for user-driven open innovation, mostly in the technology field. So basically what was done there is we had a developer that had an idea, and we had users that were testing the idea in a real life environment and giving feedback and co-creating the innovation with the developer. So basically there was an idea, then there was feedback from the user. There was a prototype that was tested, there was feedback from the user, and this way, in a feedback loop, the ideal product most suited for the consumer was developed. The Living Lab concept has been since then been widely used in a lot of different fields, but still there is not really an agreed upon definition of a living lab. However, when you go through the literature and read a lot of studies regarding living labs, 5 hallmarks are almost always present in these studies. And these are that living labs are a space for co-creation. There is a multi-stakeholder participation. There is a real-life setting. There is a multi-method approach, and there is collaboration. The definition we are kind of using in EcoDaLLi for living labs is that they are a concept for identifying innovations and co-designing different solutions in real-life environments using iterative feedback processes to create sustainable impact. Okay, now you might be asking yourselves, what does this concept have to do with governance? Because I have now only explained to you how it can be used for technological innovations. However, in more recent years, living labs have actually been used as a relational governance tool, mostly in urban development projects. And how does this work? So basically, in an urban development project, you have a space where a lot of people have differing interests for the development of the space. So you bring in all of these people, so for example, citizens living there, business owners, people that travel through, and then they work together to co-create the best possible development project. And this does not only work towards getting the best outcome for all people involved, but it also has the advantage of increasing commitment and acceptance for these projects. And what we now want to do is to apply this concept to the Danube River Basin. So basically to find and develop innovative solutions in a multi-stakeholder approach, thereby increase the acceptance for these restoration measures and also facilitate transnational collaboration, because we are doing this in a platform that works transnationally and not only in specific countries of the Danube. So how we want to test this out is we will start with 4 living labs, which will be hosted in the 4 geographic regions defined in EcoDaLLi. So there will be 1 living lab hosted in the upper Danube, 1 in the middle Danube, 1 in the lower Danube, and 1 in the delta. However, participation will not be limited to stakeholders from the regions where the lab is hosted. So stakeholders from all over the basin are invited to participate in all 4 living labs. And also each of them will deal with a specific topic. So for example, the Upper Danube Living Lab will be dealing with the Danube Innovation Ecosystem. So they will be working on finding ways to facilitate knowledge and technology transfer, or to develop entrepreneurship, or how to make innovations easier within the Danube Basin. The Middle Danube Living Lab will be dealing with the effects of climate change. So they will work on climate change mitigation measures and the protection of local communities and ecosystems from extreme events such as floods, which are becoming more frequent with the climate change that we are currently seeing. The Lower Danube Living Lab will be working on water systems. So they will, for example, work on innovative wastewater solutions. And the Danube Delta Living Lab will be working on biodiversity, which is very fitting because the Danube Delta has a very huge diversity of species. And they will be, for example, looking for innovative solutions for fishery in the Delta, or they will be using the best practice examples collected in Work Packet 3 to find good conservation and restoration measures. And in all of these living labs, we want stakeholders to work together and to co-create innovative solutions and find ways how they can be applied and also scaled up in different regions. And then based on the experiences that we make in these 4 more or less test living labs, we will develop the Danube Practices Living Lab system, which is supposed to be a governance tool for the Danube Basin. And we will, of course, also test and validate this tool with stakeholders and citizens and governance actors across the basin. And the The goal of the whole exercise is for this tool then to be used to centralize Danube governance structures and to provide a platform for the development and sharing of innovative solutions transnationally, and to thereby strengthen the innovation ecosystem in the Danube River Basin. Strengthening the innovation ecosystem, if you remember, was also the last point in the main objective of EcoDaLLi, and it's also the main focus of Work Package 5. In Work Package 5, we will be building a catalog of services that is available to all innovators in the Danube River Basin. We will also be providing trainings to innovators. The topics will be decided based on the needs expressed by the innovators. It could be, for example, project management. So whatever the innovators need most. We will try to engage stakeholders in finding ways for upscaling of innovations and increasing competitiveness of enterprises, and in general want to develop a strategy for using innovations to restore and protect the Danube River Basin. And of course, we will need a place to collect and store all of this data, but also make it available to our target groups and the public, which might be even more important. And this is why we will develop the EcoDaLLi portal in Work Package 6. And this portal will be designed to act as a hub for not only storing and collecting all of the data, but more importantly for connecting innovators, stakeholders, and citizens, and to give them easy access to information tailored to this group, but also to provide links to other tools, to the innovation actions, and to the mission implementation platform. So basically, this is supposed to be the knowledge hub of the EcoDaLLi project. And finally, in Work Package 7, we will be developing one of the other main outcomes of the EcoDaLLi project, the Danube Innovation Strategic Action Plan. Actually, the Danube Delta National Institute is a work package leader on this. So if you have any questions, and Julian is also here to answer your questions on this. The Danube Innovation Strategic Action Plan is basically a plan that will contain our experience from the projects and our recommendations for supporting the development of entrepreneurship, for cross-border cooperation, for how to sustain a healthier environment and a stronger innovation ecosystem, and how to improve strategies and policies towards sustainable, innovative solutions. Finally, just to summarize all of what I have just been telling you, so EcoDaLLi has 4 main pillars with which we want to contribute to the Mission Ocean goals. We want to provide a systemic approach for applying nature-based solutions and spatial policies towards reaching the mission goals in the Danube region. We want to foster a strong innovation ecosystem in the Danube, thereby encouraging the development of new innovative solutions and enhancing the innovation potential across all of the regions in the basin. We want to provide a platform for cross-fertilization of tools, ideas, models, and best practice examples across the entire basin with the Living Lab systems and the portal, thereby enabling transnational cooperation by bringing together stakeholders from all the different regions. And finally, with the Living Lab system, we also want to bridge communication between all of the existing governance structures and networks in the Danube Basin, but also work hand in hand with the Mission Ocean and the other lighthouses in spreading the message and getting as many people as possible involved on working on the Mission Ocean goal, which is, of course, restoring our oceans and waters by 2030. And this was my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to answering your questions. If you want any further information than what we can provide to you today, feel free to reach out to me via any of these email addresses here. Yeah, and please feel free to also connect with us via social media or via our website. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much, Nadja. Very complete presentation. Wonderful project, EcoDaLLi. It's very ambitious.
That it is.
Yeah. So maybe we'll go back to Milan. Sorry I interrupted you. And maybe you could add to Nadja's presentation.
Yeah. So I told something important already, but very short now. So this deliverable is finalized because the deadline was end of August. This is public document, and I think, Nadja, that we may distribute this to other interested or not.
We cannot yet because we haven't yet received feedback on the deliverable.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as the commission gives it a go, we can, of course.
So from commission.
Yeah. Yes, we need still feedback from the project officer.
This is practically some kind of guidelines for a potential user of this kind of approach for the restoration. And there in a document are mentioned all relevant things, including last time very interesting discussion about indicators needed to perform such a project or in any kind of nature of environment. So what is specific also, we presented methodology not only for NBS assessment phase, but for whole lifelong of the project in a form of simplified, but still some used to say that it's too complicated flow chart with the steps needed to perform such a thing. It's very important to understand that this is not MBS is not business as usual at all. And also, restoration or water management or biodiversity enhancement, this is logical, but you should think that it's generally related also to general societal challenges. And three are not so typical if you think about the title of this approach. This is very important, is participatory planning and governance. That must be included. That means involve stakeholders in every step of development of project. Second, little bit complicated, these are expected economic benefits, although until now, at least for realized project, are invested public money over 60%. And third one, also very logical, is health and well-being of people and animals too. There are three almost obligatory societal challenges, but depending on area can be selected also different. For example, for urban area, this is air quality, for example, communication quality, etc. So this you can find in this material, starting what is sometimes forgotten, that someone should bring initiation for NBS project.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think in most of the cases, there are individuals or small groups, and after that discuss with the institution, from the institution or local communities, or I don't know who is interested in something, and this is preparatory phase, very important.
Thank you so much. Yeah, important thought to be shared with the audience. But before we go to Julian, I mean, you can turn your camera on, Julian. I'd like to ask Nadja, please, why living labs? What's the advantage of having living labs, this living lab approach in EcoDaLLi?
Mm-hmm. So the main advantage we see here is really this the collaboration on a transnational level. So to have them located in the regions so that we have partners that can motivate the stakeholders there, so that they can bring them in from like a bottom-up approach, but we have this transnational cooperation between all of them, because that is really important in the Danube River Basin. We have so many countries and we have different cultures and we have different socioeconomic backgrounds, we have different needs, and it's very important to get all of them working together, co-creating and finding solutions that can work for all of them, and maybe just for some of them. They have also different needs in the restoration, but it's important to get them working together with each other.
It's interesting because you are saying, because I'm right now in Cork, Ireland, for another European project. I went to this fantastic, restoration project. The main point they stressed why it was so successful was exactly this idea of putting together different stakeholders to come up with a solution that really, everybody's happy. This is very, but not even having the terms that it's not an international, very local. I completely understand that in the case of the Danube, it's thousands of years of history together over there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also kind of the beauty of the living lab concept is that you can more or less a little bit tweak it to your specific needs, which in our case, we think it's very important that we get this like transnational cooperation going and kind of this central structure that people can go to. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this experiment and I'm very much looking forward to the results.
Good. So, Julian, we'd like to hear from you. Yeah. What could you add for the presentations?
Thank you very much. First, I want to congratulate Nadja for her presentation. It was very exhaustive and very well stated the EcoDaLLi project. What I want to add for Urban Living Lab, yes, it's a very good concept, but for sure there are two important aspects. One is the preparatory phase, when we have to take the tree problem and to see all phases of the problem. And when we go in meetings, when we go in the field of stakeholders, we have to know very well the problem and, of course, solutions. This is quite difficult. In fact, we have to taste in Urban Living Lab, we have to taste the solutions. And with this, we know solve totally. Political decision will come over. And that is the tricky. We have, in fact, to convince all stakeholders, then together as a team, we have to convince politicians, because ecological restoration is a political decision, in fact. This is what I want to state. In few words regarding the Danube Innovation Strategic Plan In fact, this is what we want to support the mission, to consolidate the concept of Danube Lighthouse. This is not so easy to find the light. This charter, in fact, this mission, in fact, give us a very good goal, and we have to take into consideration the goal of the mission. Not at least, in fact, the degradation and the resources, ecosystem resources, what people need in this area, is important to do not degrade the process. In fact, we have two possibilities for adapting to the new conditions, adapting for ecosystem healthy, and also to attenuate what is the climate change doing. For this, we have one tool, nature-based solutions. When we spoke about nature-based solutions, we have two directions. What the nature make to adapt, or to use the nature to adapt. This is important, is a tricky word, but this we have to take into consideration in our view. Yes, what is important to in our final product is to obtain an innovation action plan. This innovation plan, in fact, create a strategy for people to adapt to the climate changes, which is very, very important for sustainable systems, for sustaining itself the systems. These are a few thoughts what I want to add to Nadja's presentation, which was very good state. Thank you.
Oh, definitely. Thank you so much for your thought. Very important as well. Nadja, we have 3 questions here. We don't have much time, but but as the moderator, I have another question for you. Okay, it's very important. How do you see? You've been the CSAs in between the innovation actions, the Blue Park, and also the European Commission. How you see this constellation of projects working together towards the same goal? How do you see the role of EcoDaLLi, not only as a project, but also at the coordination of the activities at the Danube Basin?
So, I think, yeah, the connection with the Mission Ocean is actually something that is kind of unique for this whole structure. And I think it's actually a really great chance to get people interested in also these different areas. I think it would be great actually if the Mission Ocean included a few more additional freshwater basin areas. So I hope that maybe in the next phase of the mission, there will be more of a focus on also rivers. So I kind of see the role of EcoDaLLi here in also representing the freshwater community a little bit within the Mission Ocean. Yeah. And I think it's very important for us to be connected with all of you. And I think we can also help each other with our different expertise. And yeah, I think it's really a great chance, this whole overarching structure of the Mission Ocean. I don't know if it has ever been done before, but it's a fascinating constellation.
Oh, yes, indeed it is.
Yeah.
I learned so much. So, Julian, want to say something?
Yes, I want to add a few words. In fact, many of the partners are involved also in one or
Yes.
another Danube Lighthouse project, and this is important. In fact, to have stakeholder different project partners for this project. It's important to create connections like in the internet between different computers.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll go to the questions, don't have much time. First is from Carlos Tamoyo Rodriguez. I've seen his registration, he comes from Venezuela. Yeah, and the European mission is very ambitious to free 20,000 kilometers of rivers in the next 7 years. Looks impossible. How many kilometers of rivers will be freed by EcoDaLLi? How will you do that?
Okay.
Very good question.
Yeah, so I agree. It is very ambitious. EcoDaLLi itself as coordination and support action. So we are not really doing any work on the river itself. What we are doing, what our focus is on networking, on stakeholder engagement, and on this whole governance level. So what we are trying to achieve is basically a political engagement, and thereby we want to contribute to this goal, also by providing this idea for how to use nature-based solutions to increase the connectivity. So basically we are providing the tools, more or less. And we have the innovation actions that are actually working on the demonstrator sites, but I actually cannot tell you how many kilometers that will be freeing up. I just don't know. But also, yeah, so this is actually a little bit coming back to this point that I think it would be great to include more freshwater basins in the whole mission ocean. So to not only have the Danube, but maybe also focus on other rivers. So I think then we will, I hope it won't be impossible to reach that goal. I'm optimistic.
I'm also optimistic. We will do that. We will make it happen. Surely. You know, Carlos Tamoyo also has other two questions that I guess that were already, let's say, they got already an answer. So will the outcomes of the EcoDaLLi project be shared with the public? And also, what's the difference between CSA and innovation actions? Basically, just reply to that question now, but if you could rephrase.
Okay. So yeah, the difference between a CSA and an innovation actions, or the innovation actions, they are actually piloting solutions. So they have an idea and then they test it really on the water. It can be, I don't know, maybe Julian, you have an example from one of the other projects, but it's a specific idea and they are pilot testing it, and afterwards they can tell it works, it doesn't work. What a CSA does, we are not really testing technology. We are focused on networking, on the governance level, on engaging with stakeholders and kind of providing the support network for the innovation action so that they can do their work.
Yes.
And the other question was, again,
Well,
sorry.
The question is, will the outcomes of the EcoDaLLi project be shared with the public?
Yes, we have a lot of public deliverables. For example, that methodology for the NBS assessment that Milan already explained. We have a lot of public deliverables, and they will be made available as soon as we have had the first review and the project officer and the European Commission has given us the go, and then we will release these to the public. And we will be very happy if people are interested and want to use these resources. So please feel free to avail yourself of the opportunity.
Perfect. And the last question is, so it's written in Spanish from Mexico, but I will, of course, translate. Hello, good day from Mexico. Have you ever detected alien species? I mean, in terms of species not from this river that were introduced by the human being, and if you did find some kind of a species, Do you have any problems like the growth of the population of mosquitoes, something like that? So what the impact of these species that are not autochthonous to the Danube?
I can answer if you agree. In fact, yes, there are different categories of ecological restoration. One very important category that Nadja explained very detailed. There are connectivities, but in the same time there are also recovering of species, endangered species, and also it's very important to see the invasive species. It's very important because in this time when we have climate change, these invasive species appear and destroy the autochthonous habitats. And for this, it's another kind of attenuation of adaptation to climate changes. Regarding the mosquitoes, yes, we observe when I start my work in 1985, we have only 5 species of mosquitoes, and now we have more 30 species, 6 times from 1985. Yeah.
Thank you. So this is a very interesting point. So Claudia Larrea, if you want, you can connect with the EcoDaLLi project through Nadja. She posted her, maybe you can write your email again, Nadja, at the chat box.
Sure.
Okay, so if Claudia, you want to connect with the EcoDaLLi project to learn more about this explosion of mosquitoes, 6 times more species, I'm sure Julian will be willing to respond as soon as possible. Okay, perfect. So I'd like to a quick round before we close the meeting. We start with Milan. So do you have any few final words for this session?
So NBS is new, is under development,
Yeah.
and people are very enthusiastic about this, and will be changed also in the future. I'm very enthusiastic about not only small and large scales, but also mini scales for one village, for example.
Perfect. Thank you, Julian.
Yeah. In fact, it is possible to live also in Sahara. I just returned from Sahara and I saw people that are living there. Not only as in paradise like in Danube Delta, but it is possible to live also. Thank you.
And Nadja, it's up to you to close now the project. What will be your final words about EcoDaLLi?
Okay. So first of all, I want to say thank you for this opportunity. It was great fun to talk with you today and to answer all the questions. Also, thank you, Julian and Milan, for participating. So yeah, from my side, I hope you enjoyed the presentation I was able to explain to you. And please feel free to reach out, to contact us. We are always open for collaboration. So yeah, I will be happy to hear from any of you that participated today. And thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Well, I would like to thank also Catarina and Valerie. They are behind the scenes helping us out. So again, next week we will have, here's Valerie. She's now helping me on the coordination of the BlueMissionAA, also the Agora project. And Catarina, please turn your camera on. Catarina is always behind everything that we do at the center. So thank you so much. Next week we have Agora project. And I know we'll keep in touch. Every week we have a new mission project, All Atlantic project, to showcase its solutions. And this video will be soon available on YouTube. We'll promote this video through our social media channels. So thank you so much. Hope to see you soon. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.